Okay. Morning, guys. Sorry, yesterday I was not uploaded. I'll upload the today all together. Right. Okay. So the next concept when it comes to that angular is forms implementation. Once if the forms is done, then I will show you like how we are going to work on the services along with the CRUD operation. Otherwise, maybe I'll start with the routing and then we will see. And forms will take at least 2 sessions to complete all. Now, basically, what is the need of the form? So far in all that example, you can see, I'm just fetching the data from the server, right? Yes or no? By using the fetch method, or if you can go with the services, the same thing we can do with the help of HTTP client class is available. And by using that, we are going to fetch the data. But getting the data is not only the part of the Angular development, but also we will give some input to the application and that input will be stored on the database server, right? So to implement such kind of thing, then definitely we should have the form support. I can say that a form is a collection of input controls which are used to take an input from the user and submitted on server. That what I can say. A form is a collection of input control. And what is the purpose of an input control? What is the purpose of an input control? What are the input controls we have? HTML basic question it is. Text box, radio button, checkbox, drop down. Okay, all these are what we call it as input control. And all these input controls together collection, we call it as a form. Understood? All the input control together, we call it as a form. Now, that is where a form is a collection of input control, which is used to take an input from the user as submitted on the server. A server can be anything, either it is a database server or it might be a server side application which will store the data on the relational databases. So here I'm going to divide this forms implementation into two types. The first thing what we are going to understand today is how we are going to take an input. And the next step is going to be submitting that particular input to the server side application. Then server side application will store that particular data on the database. So this is how the flow, but first we will understand how we are going to implement the form. Implementation of the forms means don't think just we can create an input control and we take the data, but also we will be performing the validation part as well. And those validations has to be displayed based on the state of that input control. Suppose if the input control is valid, then straight away I can submit the request to the server. If the input control is going to be an invalid, then I don't want to submit the data to the server. Because to avoid that unnecessary calls to the server, we will be implementing the validations as well. So that is what all about implementation of the forms here. Now here to implement the form, to implement the forms using Angular, we have two approaches. Or else we have two different set of forms are available. The first one is going to be template driven forms is the first one, and the second one is going to be model driven, or else some people may call it as a reactive forms also. We have two set of forms are available, template driven forms and model driven form. And template driven forms are available from Angular 2 onwards, Angular 2.0 onwards. We have the template driven form, and mostly we will be using till 5.0 version, the template driven forms only. But in Angular 5.0, the Google was introduced a new set of form, that is what we call it as a model driven forms or reactive form. And nowadays, like Srikanth, which one is more popular means the second one is the most popular one, and 80% of the scenario we will be using the model driven form instead of using what the template driven forms that are available. Okay, instead of using the template driven form, I can say that 80% of our real-time projects are having model driven only, and the 20% of the forms are still there in wet template driven form. Srikanth, what is the difference between these two, and when do we use which one practically? Simple terms I can say, suppose let's say you have a form and the form is fixed with the functionality. Okay, that means there is no extension for the form. Once you define the form and that form is fixed across that application, and maybe in future also, we are not going to provide any kind of extensions to the form, then you can create with template driven form. That is the good approach only. Suppose if you wanted to change the form or modify the form based on the requirement very frequently, then always it's better to go with what? Model driven forms. For an example, let's take a login page. Any website you can go, login page will contain what? Enter username or an email. After that, enter password. That what we are having is that is fixed or not? Yes or no? Any website you can go, when it comes to the login form, login page will contain username and password, and most of the time we will be having a session based checkbox. That is what? Do you want to remember it or not? Hardly we are having 2 to 3 controls over there. At that time, you can go with the template driven, because that won't be changed like, at application level. But coming to the registration forms are different from one website to another website. Some people may take first name, last name, middle name, email ID, username, password, confirm password. Like that, few people may take, and some people may take only an email, password, and confirm password. Some people may take the gender information, and someone they may take, let's say, the date information, that is the date of birth information. Like that, they are able to take that information from one to another. That is different registration wise. Yes or no? If you can go with that particular one, then it's better always to use what? Model driven. When the model driven, whenever if you can have the frequent changes, then you can go with the model driven. Whenever if your form is fixed and there is no extension further, then it's always better to go with the template driven form. But still I'm telling you, 80% of our real-time application forms are going to be in model driven forms only, and 20% only we will be having template driven form. But we will cover like both. How do we work with like, model driven and template driven. Now I'm going to start. The very first one is going to be template driven forms, that what I can say. So here, this is exactly follows that MVVM pattern, model view and view model. And in the model view and view model, always the variables also created at where you created the variables, or where you can store the data, what user has entered within the view page or not. Did you remember MVVM? Yes. MVVM, man. Simply we use what? Template reference variable we created, and then we can store it. That is how it is going to be. Here, I can say forms are configured within the template only. Here the forms are configured within the template only. The template is nothing but, I can say that it is a UI. That means within the HTML, if you can configure like everything, then that is what we call it as a template driven form. And these forms follows MVVM design patterns. MVVM design pattern. What does it mean? It means that the data that what we have taken from the user, that will be stored directly on the template itself. We don't have any interaction with the component to store the data and get the data as well. Everything is going to be configured at template itself. There only we can take an input and there only we created a variable and we can store it over there. And all the classes, all the, or else let's say directives that are related to template driven forms are available in forms module. I hope you people know about where this module is available, where it is available, and it is available in a library. Where it is available? Tell me. @angular/forms is the library that what we are having. Now here, so far like what we have done, we just have created a variable for an input control, but we have an option to create a control at form level as well. That means to create here, forms are represented with ng form. Forms are represented with ng form, and at the same time controls are represented with ng model, that what I can say. Here the forms are represented with what? ng form, that what we are having, and the controls are represented with ng model, that what I can say. Now how it is going to be? The syntax is too simple here because we have already seen. Just I am giving you an overview of like what we have done in MVVM, but we more focus on the validation part. How we are going to do that, the validation, because these forms already I have explained with basic functionality. Now we are going to understand how we are going to implement the validations for that one. That is only the pending task from my end. But how to create it, first we will be having the form tag, right? Yes or no? We have the form tag, and for this particular form tag, what I can do, I am giving some name over there. How to give the name? You can give any name. Maybe I can say form register is equal to. Now, earlier we haven't given anything to the form, but now what I am doing, I am giving the form register as my form name, and this must be decorated with the help of what? ng form. That is what this all about. Here the forms are represented with what? ng form, that what I can say. And the same way, we have an input control, input type equal to text, that what I can give, and then following with we have an ng model, and maybe I can say first name is equal to, we will be giving what? ng model, that what I can say. And not even that, suppose you may take the select tag, and here also what I can do, I am using ng model, and here you can give some name over there. Maybe I can say city is equal to, I'll be giving what? ng model, and then you can write the select tag as well. Now these are the input controls, right? Either it is input type equal to text, or input type equal to button, or input type equal to email, or input type equal to some XYZ. Select, you can take anything you can take. Every control is registered with what? ng model. Now this ng model and this ng form, both are available in a module, that is what we call it as forms module, and this module is available in a library, that is what we call it as @Angular/forms library. Now here, these are the variables or not? Tell me. Form register or else first name or else city, that what I have given. These are the variables or not? And these variable, practically we call it as modals. These are what we call it as modal. That is where we call it as, this is the view page and these are the modal. So that we together we call it a modal view and then view modal. That is what the second point that I have mentioned. These forms follows with MVVM architecture. That means there itself you can take an input and there itself you can get the, there itself you can store the data also. That is how it is going to be. Understand? And to access the data, how we can access? Now whatever the form we are having, whatever the variable, if I'll be giving dot value, then it will get all the values that are associated for this particular form. That means even though I have 20 input control or 30 input controls if I'm having, it doesn't matter. If you wanted to get like, all that input control, then you can get with the help of what? Form register dot value, and it will return an object, and that object will contain a key and value pair combination. Now what is key here? A key is nothing but the modal property. Modal property, or else it may be a template reference variable. It may be a template reference variable, that what I can say. That means this one, first name. Suppose I wanted to get the first name, then what I can do? Form register dot value dot first name. Suppose I wanted to get the city, then form register dot value dot what it is? City, that what I have given. That is what we call it as a key, that what we are having. And the same time, the value is nothing but the input that what user has given. It is the value. It is the value that has taken from the user, that what I can say. That means it contains the value that takes the user, that takes from the user. Now, if you can use, first you guys please join at 9 o'clock and then ask the questions. Because I told all of you guys who joined at 9 o'clock, I forgot to upload yesterday. I went to office and this laptop is not allowed in my office. That is where it was there at my home. Then how I can upload? It is not possible, right? That is where I am not uploaded. I already informed that. So first please join by 9 o'clock and then you can ask me the question. Right. So the next one is here. What are the advantages? Advantages of this particular one. Advantages of this particular one. So the first one is going to be, it reduces the number of requests. Generally, if you can follow like, the two-way data binding, all the variables we have created on the component itself, right? Whenever user enter the data, then by using the two-way data binding to ng model, then we will be sharing the data to the component. And whenever the component is modified, again, the data will come to the UI or not. That is what we learned in the two-way data binding with the help of an ng model. But is it really required here to perform that? Is it really required here? Yes or no? No. Why? Because see there, the variables are registered here itself, right? That means within the template itself, I have the variable. Then why should I connect with the component then? Everything is associated within my form itself. There only I am taking that input and storing the data. Whenever it is required, I can take directly the data from that particular template reference variable, right? So why should I connect with the component then? That is the advantage. That means it reduces the number of requests. It reduces the number of requests where you need not to connect with component very frequently, because all the modal objects or template reference variable are associated within the form for every input control, so that no need to make more number of requests. That is always the good thing, but that is only the good thing. But because of all these objects prepared on the UI itself, it takes more time for rendering. It takes more time for what? Rendering. Now what is mean by a rendering? What is mean by rendering? Right, rendering is the process of delivering the client understandable code. Now what is mean by a client here? A client is nothing but what? A browser. Browser will understand only the HTML, right? It won't understand anything apart from that one. Only the HTML. It will understand the HTML. With the help of the HTML, it will understand the CSS or JavaScript. That is where the reason I used what? The style tag or script tag. Without using those two, will it be possible to understand? Tell me. Tell me. It's a basic question. Without using the style tag, CSS cannot be understood. Without using the JavaScript, that is the script tag, JavaScript cannot be understood. So that whatever the variables we have created here, it will occupy some memory of the browser. Because of that reason, it takes more time for the rendering. That is only the reason where I told you template driven forms are suitable whenever if you are having a minimal requirement. Minimal in the sense, hardly if you can have one or two input control. Okay, like let's say a login form you may take, or else you can take some places you will be finding, enter your email to subscribe the newsletter. We have only one text box and one button over there, right? Have you observed anywhere? Subscribe newsletters. So suppose if you can go to, let's say, Microsoft or some portals, if you can go, let's say, if you can go with, let's say, Stack Overflow or something. If you can go to here, now you can see we have what? At below, definitely we will be having what? Subscribe here for the newsletters. Definitely we will be having something like that. Let's search for, I'm sorry. Okay, here we don't have, but generally couple of website, it comes with subscribe for newsletters are available. Maybe at that particular moment, we will be having only one email ID that you can give and you can use it. That is where if your form size is very less, then how it will be an advantage. I told you only one advantage, man. These are disadvantages. Okay. Right. So the disadvantage is going to be, it takes more time for the rendering. And the second one is going to be, if something happen or else some exception is happen, debugging is also one of the challenging tasks. If the code is available on the JavaScript, it would be very easy for us to do the debugging, right? I already showed you how we can do the debugging by using the developer tools with the help of browser, that is the Google Chrome. Whenever if something is happen, I'll straight away open the JavaScript file and I'll keep the breakpoint. I can hit the F10 or F11 based on the requirement and I can identify it. But here it is very difficult. That means it is very difficult to identify the exceptions, that what I can say. Why I specify here it as an exception mean JavaScript won't give you the errors. JavaScript will never give you any kind of error. It always gives you that exception. That is what the reason. And the third disadvantage is going to be, I can say, it improves, the advantage, as we have everything here, improves the load time. Okay, improves the load time. Okay, this is, again, you people might get confused. Okay, leave about it. And the third one is going to be, here we don't have, we don't have much reusability. That means reusability of the form is not available over here. These are the disadvantages that we are having. That means the only advantage is going to be number of requests are less, but apart from that one, everything is going to be limitations only. That means it takes more time for the rendering and it is very difficult to identify that exception, and we don't have much reusability, and at the same time we don't have separations also. Separations also. Because of that reason only, separation of concern is the major reason where that MVC was introduced in the market. I hope when you learned about that MVC, the first point why MVC was there in the market is it's all about the separation of concern. We have a clear logic for writing the model and a clear logic to write the controller and a clear logic to write the HTML, right? That is what the model view and controller. But if you can follow this approach, we don't have like, separation, code separation, everything is going to be written over here. These are the different limitations that are available. Now, how I can use that particular one? How I can use it? A simple example that I'm going to show you by adding the validations to that one only. Let me create a new application, ng generate, and I wanted to generate an application, and the name of that application is going to be forms demo, that what I can use. And I just wanted to have the routing mechanism and the CSS both together. We need to have. Right. Now you see, I'll go to this application and there I'm having the project. I created a project that is the forms demo. Under that we have an SRC. Under that app folder is available. Maybe I can create a new folder here and the name is going to be components. And here I'll be creating one component and the name of the component is going to be, let's say, template driven basic form. First we will see the basic form. Later I will show you how do we add the validations to that particular one. So that I'll be using ngg C for the component. Let's say template form, that what I can give, and this is very basic form. Okay, template form basic, that what I can give, hyphen skip hyphen test, that what I can say, and then click on OK, so that it will get created. And I wanted to execute that particular one, so that let me go to here and then I'm having like this, and I'll be adding like, the global styles over here, import URL, where I can give an SRC, sorry. I'll go to few steps back and then I'm going to get like, the bootstrap here, dest CSS, and I'm going to give the CSS over there. This is the first one. And the next one is going to be, we will be giving the node module, and where I can say bootstrap icon, font, and then bootstrap icon, that what I can give. That's it. So these are the basic steps that what I am performing. And after that, I wanted to execute this one, so that let us copy, go to that index.html, and where I can give app template form basic, I can say. And at the same time, this I wanted to run as the part of that execution, so that I can give it over there and save this application. And now you can run that application. Let's say nges -o project is equal to forms demo, then automatically it will get executed. Right. Now you can see template form basic works. And now I'll open my application and we'll be writing the logic. So the very first thing what I can do is I'll take a div which contains the class as going to be container. And the very first thing I'm having the form. And generally every form which comes with two default parameters in HTML. One is action and second one is the method. Action is used to specify where you want to submit the request, and a method is used to specify what type of the request it is. By default, all the method is having default action as going to be post only. Okay, when I say about the method is nothing but what type of request you are going to make to the server, and by default it is post only. Post is something like submitting the data to the server. I can say that post is nothing but submitting data to the server that we are having. Now what I can do, I don't want to write it here because what I can do is I'm going to use it an Angular. Now for that, I'm using a template reference variable. Maybe I can say form register is equal to, with what we can define the form, I'm using ng form here. Now the time when I'm giving an ng form here, you can see no directive found as exported ng form here. That means it is unable to find it out where this is available. It is a predefined one. If you wanted to get the predefined, we will be getting that library reference. So where I can add that reference? Where I can add the reference? In the module, so that I can go to the module and I'm going to include like one module, that is the forms module, and this module is available under where? @Angular/forms library. Okay, Angular/forms library. I'll tell you when it is get and when it is post. By default, if you are not giving, the form will be behaving like a post. There are two scenarios. If you can have the submit button, then that is going to be the post request. By default, it will take. If you can have like, the normal button, 3 different types of buttons are supported in HTML. What are those? Tell me, Karthik and Anand. What are the 3 types of buttons supported in HTML? Input type equal to button, input type equal to submit, input type equal to reset. Whenever if you can use an input type equal to button, then it will take the get request. Okay. Whenever if you can take an input type equal to submit, then automatically the form method by default, it will take the post. Okay. Then now tell me what is default one. What is the need of the form first of all? Are we going to get any data to the form from the server? Or else are we going to send the data to the server? Sending the data. Then what button we are using in that case? Submit button. If I am using the submit button, what is that action? Hence proved, right? Yes or no? But I don't know that, like, in HTML, you might learn like in that way. But this is not the HTML. We are at advanced level. At basic level, it's okay. But when you start that example with advanced level programming, you should be in a position what would be the default one. From one to another, it will get definitely change. Always, if you can use a submit button, that is post request only. If you can use the submit, that is post request. If you can use normal button, that is get request. But normal buttons we are not using to post the data to the server, right? Our requirement is what? We wanted to send the data, whatever that input we have taken, to the database server. That is our requirement. That is what the need of the form. Otherwise, do we have any use of the forms here? Then tell me which request if that is a case. Post only, right? That's it. Now it's clear. Why I told you it as post. Guys, very good. Now the next thing is going to be, okay, leave about it. Now I'm adding like, the forms module, so that what happened here, it is going to be an ng form. And also at form level also we have couple of events are available, and we have one event only, and that event what we call it as submit event is available. We have an event that is what we call it as a submit is available. Now if you can use the submit event, that is also makes the post call only. Okay, That means even though you have the normal button, at form level, if you can use the submit event, that is also post request again. Now I will show you, I'll be using the normal button only. I don't want to take like, input type equal to submit. I'll be taking a normal button. I will show you that even with the proofs. Now you can see I am using submit click, or else let's say I'll be writing a method here. Register is the method that what I can do. Now what I want to do, I wanted to get all the value that user has entered within the form. So how to get? I told you in the syntax, if you can see, to get all the data, we will be using the name of the form along with which property? Value property, right? So that what I can do, I am using form register dot, I'll be using a property that is the value property that I'm having. Now, when this is going to be, whenever user has submitted, this is going to be. Now I wanted to create a simple function here, public, and I'm going to have the register where I can have the data, and the type is going to be any that what I can give. Because when user click on the button, then submit will call automatically, that event will get executed, and this event will call an event handler that is nothing but a function, and to that function I am specifying the data here which is associated within the form, I can say. Now what I can do, I'll be preparing some input controls here. So for that I'll take a registration form, I can say, and here I am going to take a data list where I can have the DT, and I'm going to have the username, and then I'll be taking a DD where I can say an input type as going to be the text, and a name property I can give something like a username. You can give any name. It doesn't matter that like we should always follow the same name. And I'm giving some template reference variable where I can give the username here. And for that, I'm using an ng model. And here also, I'll be using an ng model here. Okay, here also I'll be using an ng model here. That is all about like, the first one. And the second one is going to be, I'm going to take a DT where I can say enter age that what I can give, and where I can have the DD, and I'm going to give input to type as going to be some number, and the name is going to be that age. And after that, I'm giving some template reference variable, age is equal to ng model, and also I'm writing hash, ng model that what I can give. That's it. And the last one, maybe I can say a simple date, and I'm going to write the city. Why should we waste the space? Okay, I'm going to write the city here, and after that, I'm going to have a DD, and then I'll be using the select tag. Now you can see select name is going to be the city, where I can write city over there is equal to ng model, and I can say that ng model here, and provide that options to the user. Options are going to be, no need to give the value. By default, it will pick up from there. Hyderabad, I can say. And after that, I'll be providing some other value. And then the third one is going to be, let's say, and I'm going to give, that's it. So these are the values that what I can give. Okay. They are the values that what I'm giving. Now, as you requested, what I'm trying to do is I'm going to take a normal button. Now you can see a normal button. But as you said, normal button will perform what operation? Get operation. If it is a get, it will never call like, the code that what we have written in the controller, generally speaking, and that never call like, never submitted the data. But I will show you that here I'm using the normal button. You can take it and let me know what challenges you faced. You can take a checkbox and let me know. The only thing is, by seeing it, people are afraid. That's it. Nothing is there. Nothing is there over here. Just you can take it and let me know what challenges. Okay. Now here I can say I am using the button, and the button is going to be register that what I can give. And the button is going to be register that what I can say. When user click on register, now I am going to execute this function. Now you can see, okay, now my application is executing, and this is how it is going to be, right? Yes or no? Now you can right click and go to the inspect, and if you can go to the form, let's say sources, I can go control P, and the first one is going to be template basic component.ts, and I'll be having data. Maybe I can give the Srikanth and age as 33 and Hyderabad, and I click on register here. Am I able to get the data or not? That means I'm able to make a call to the service or not. That is the component. Okay. Now tell me, this is a get request or post request? It is a post request. Get mean we never send that object data. We never send that object data. This is also a post request only internally. Now I am going to send the data here. Now you see what data it contains. Username and the value. And at the same time, age and the value, and city and the value. By using the get request, we can share the data only with the help of a query string or else route URL parameters. That is the reason I can show you that even. Let me show you. Now here, let's say I'll open the Google here, right? If you can type something like how to work with checkbox in Angular, okay, template driven forms. I'm taking like this. Now observe the URL. Now when I click on here, now what type of request it is going to be? You can see this is a get request. How I identify this is a get request mean, if you can see here, the data that what we are sharing it to the server, you can see will be sending with the help of a query string or not. You can see the URL. The question mark, have you seen it or not? The question mark is the query string, and whatever the question you asked, you can see Q is equal to, that is the question I'm asking in the Google or not? Observe it. How to work with checkbox in Angular template driven form. Okay, that means if it is a get request, we never share the whole object data. If you can share with the get request whole object data, then that would be the security threat. Understand? It is always a security threat. That is where not even in Angular, any technology you can take, any web application, we have get and post request. This question is very important. Which one you prefer to make a request to the server? Either are you using the get request or are you using the post request? The answer is always post. Why post mean? Post is always secured than get request. Okay, if we can make a get request, the data we can append it on the URL with the help of a query string, or else we have a route URL parameters are there, because MVC architecture it supports. Wherever you have that MVC, you heard about the routing mechanism. Did anyone completed ASP.NET MVC here? Or else if you are a Java developer, Spring Boot? No one. Okay, there you will understand. Even you can search in a Google, you can find routing in Spring Boot. If we can go to the routing in Spring Boot, now you can see we will be having it. We will be having a concept, and the same concept routing in, let's say, I'll be using ASP.NET MVC. If I'm using, am I having that concept or not? Yes or no? The same thing if we can go to routing in Angular, if we can go, now do we have that concept or not? Yes or no? See, one to another, the only difference is syntax, concept is same. Understand? So that is where, like, don't stick with the basic, come out from that and learn, like, a real time example. When it is going to be need of get request, when it is the post, always don't think get, because get is like, hardly I have, like, in my application I have 249 APIs so far I build. Out of 249, hardly 3 to 4 APIs I build with the get request, and remaining all two, let's say 40 API, completely it's a post request only. Even we are taking the data from the server also, because post is more secure when compared with the get. Give the least priority for the get from now onwards. In examples, I don't know how they will teach, but I'm going to teach, like, completely the real time base. I always suggest you to go with the post only, not go with the get. Get is like, not the secured one. First of all, if there is sensitive data, if I can send it with the help of get, then where is the security? Right? That is the, again, you may get a question, you get an answer also. Srikanth, I use that encryption mechanism to do that. Array, that's an unnecessary thing, right? We should write some logic to do that encryption, right? Again, the same data, if you wanted to store it on the DB, again we have to decrypt or not. Encryption and decryption, if it is small data, then it's okay. If I'm having huge data, that will be an impact on the performance of that application or not. Because, like, in the last batch, there is a real-time guy, and he only asked me the question, Srikanth, we use the get request. Then tell me, like, what is the volume of the data that you are sharing? I'm not sure, like, in test environment, that is something around. Okay, next day, on the day itself, I told him, okay, he joined very recently into the project. Okay, check with someone. You have written the get request and ask your peers, like, who are having 3 years plus experience, which one is better to share the data. He asked and he confirmed that, like, get only. Okay, how they are managing then? If it is a get request, if the huge volume of the data, they are doing, like, this one, encryption and decryption. I forwarded a link to him. Okay, this is how, like, the performance impact. I have given around, like, 2000 records are there. The one that I have shown with you, right? NASA one. We have around 2000, thousands of records over there. Just to do one thing, with the help of get, you can submit that to the server. And again, with the help of post, you can submit it to the server by doing, like, the encryption. And it is taken, like, around 35 seconds of the time difference. 35 seconds of time difference to call that API, to process that encryption and to do the decryption and to get the data and doing, like, all these unnecessary tasks. It is taking 32 seconds of the time lag. People will never wait until that time. Any website whenever if user has entered that, let's say Srikanth and the age, and I'm giving Hyderabad and I click on register. Okay. This is showing me an object of the Java state, but I wanted to convert it into the JSON. Then how I can do that? We have already seen this. JSON dot, we have stringify is available or not. JavaScript method only, that is. What it will do is, it will convert the JavaScript object into the JSON. Now you can save it, and this time you can see I am using Srikanth, and then I'll be writing Hyderabad and click with register. Now you can see, am I able to get the JSON related data or not? Okay. Now this is the basic form. Okay, fine, it is working. Now if you can observe the form properties that are available, you can see when I open the form, did I apply any classes by my own? You can see here, when I go with the magnifier and then go to here, now you can see, did I applied any classes to this one? See there, ng valid, ng dirty, ng touched, ng submitted. Did I applied all these classes by my own anywhere? But how I am able to get it? How I am able to see those classes here? Because all these classes all belongs to the validation services. So the next thing what we are going to do here is, we will be performing the validation. Now, what is a validation? First of all, validations using template driven forms. What is the use of validation? What is the use of validation? What is meant by a validation? Right. So that means, as I told you, database is like, much more costlier one. It is not something that easy where you can download and you can use it. And data is also like, maintaining the data is also one of the, okay, right. Whatever the data we are having, we should maintain with some accurate data. That is only the reason where, I hope this example I already discussed with you. If you can take like, the bank as an example, and you opened an account, okay, you opened an account and you are not using that account for a long time, then they are taking some financial charges or not. Why they are taking? You are not using any services, right? We are not using any kind of like, services which are provided by the bank. Yes or no? But why they are charging? You are not withdraw any amount, you are not deposited any amount, and you are not interacted with that website also, online banking. You are not even use it in your phone pay or GPay, but still why they are taking the charging? Yes, it's all about to maintain the data. That means after 10 years, maybe you feel that you need to reopen that account. Then again, what they will ask, just, okay, give your Aadhaar card or something, then we can regenerate. But before that, you can pay the amount that what we have charged, right? Yes or no? Why that happen? Because maintaining the data is not going to be a simple task. If that is a case, if you can take like, any input from the user and store it on the DB, then unnecessary data consumption, right? Definitely unnecessary. Suppose let's say I wanted to store my personal information where I can give first name, last name and all. Okay. But in place of first name, I'm giving date of birth. In place of last name, I'm giving my age. In place of email, I'm giving the password. Like that, if I am sending an unnecessary information and that will be stored on the database server, fine. But how could I identify that whenever it is requested from me? I just want to know my date of birth, what I kept it over there, but I haven't inserted a proper value at that time, right? Then how I can do that one? So these are the challenging tasks that are happen whenever if you can send the data to the server. And to maintain accurate data, definitely every input that what you people have taken, that should be validated. Now, what is mean by a validation here? It is the process of, it is the process of validating the user input, I can say. It is the process of validating the user input. It is the process of validating the user input. And validations are required to ensure that we should get only accurate data from the user, and also we will store that into the data source, I can say. We will store that into the data source. And these validations are how many types? How many types? We have two types of validations. Then here the question will come, client side, and the second one is going to be, what is the second one? Server side. Srikanth, if I implemented a client side validation, then why should I go with the server side validation? Leave it. Why should I go with the server side validation? Tell me. I can implement the client side validations, right? Then why should I go with the server side validation? Very, very important interview question this is. Anyone, at least one person. Why should I go with that? Oh, it's already 10 o'clock. No idea. Seriously, no idea. Okay, ask the same question Google and let me know tomorrow. It's already 10 o'clock. Okay, that is fine. But the thing is here, you know, if you can right click, go to the settings of this. I'll go to the browser settings. Let me go to the settings here. I'm typing something like hello. Let's come here. There is something that okay, sites can use the JavaScript. When I take this one, sites cannot use the JavaScript, and come back here, and if I'm executing it, what is that output here? What is that output here? Whatever the logic you have written with the help of Angular will never get executes. Do you know this feature? We have this feature for every browser, not even this one. Every browser you can take, we have this feature. When I allow, then I'm able to see. When I disable, then automatically it won't work. Then Srikanth, what is the need of learning the JavaScript? 90% of the people, they are not doing this one. Okay, if somebody intentionally they can do, we can't do anything, right? We can't do anything. But whom, like, you know, this feature may know, you know, hackers who are ready to hack your website. What they are doing, you know, they are going to stop executing the JavaScript. Suppose at the client side only you implemented the validation. For that you write, like, you know, some script over there. If I stop the script execution, then what happened? No validation. That means they can inject any data, right? Yes or no? They can inject any data, they can connect with our server, and they can fetch whatever they want, and they can do the block also. That is how the hacking has happened. Web application development right now, what you people are learning, it's hardly 5%. We have more 95%. Even for me also, I'm not getting at the time of like, fresher. But once if you get that experience over the period of time, we only think that development is a simple task. Apart from the development, we have many things to do. Kind of SSL integration, two-way SSL, secure socket layer integration, using the JWTs and giving the HTTPS and doing the masking with the domains. Okay, all these like, you will understand. And coming to the performance point of view, how we can give the better performance and how we are going to calculate the performance, all this you will understand once you start your career. But right now, whatever you're learning here, especially with respect to the web development, according to my experience, I'm considering it is hardly 10%. 10% only. Either you can build by using Angular, React, Java, C Sharp, .NET, or anything you can take. You're building here 10% only. But remaining 90%, it all comes under what? Security, performance, user interaction, and UI, that is the user experience. These four are the major concerns. Understand, these many features are there. But still at basic level only, we are taking more struggle to do. Now you can think, but okay, this is the one challenge. Second challenge also, okay, user has allowed the JavaScript, but still I'm telling you, server side validations are important. Why it is important? That you can Google it and do let me know. Okay, by tomorrow. And tomorrow I'll just give you like how we can perform the validations and all, and I can upload like, the whole notes one more time. Okay, that's it for the day. Thank you and have a nice day. I'll upload now itself, don't worry.
Recording stopped.